Welcome to the channel Tech Base. You can get global latest technological news in daily video. Please subscribe this channel. In recent years, the United States has paid close attention to Chinese technology companies. Many companies have been added to the entity list, including top technology companies such as Huawei and ZTE. Severe decline. ZTE was export-controlled in 2018. It was once affected by the sanctions of the United States, which caused ZTE to lose 7.824 billion yuan in the first half of 2018. Such a serious impact is naturally unbearable for ZTE. In the end, it ended up paying a fine of $1 billion. ZTE's net profit in 2017 was not enough to pay the fine. Fortunately, after paying the fine, it finally got back nearly 4 years. Peaceful. But what makes people angry is that the United States did not stop because of this. Now ZTE is sanctioned by the United States again. The United States prohibits ZTE, Huawei, Hikvision, and other companies from selling or importing in the United States. The reason is still security issues. In this regard, China severely criticizes the U.S. move as a bad act of generalizing the concept of national security and abusing state power to unreasonably suppress Chinese companies. Such actions will violate the principles of market economy and undermine international trade rules. In March 2022, the domestic communication company ZTE ushered in good news. It won the lawsuit against the United States for many years. Without any additional fines, the 5-year observation period ended ahead of schedule. Originally, ZTE would usher in a bright future, but it never occurred to the United States to upgrade the restrictions again in November. The FCC announced, the 5 companies Huawei, ZTE, Hikvision, Hitera, and Zhejiang Dahua are prohibited. The equipment is sold in the U.S. The reason given is still security risk issue. The continuous imposition of this trumped-up charge also confirms the subsequent attitude of the United States. It is very likely that ZTE's $1.4 billion fine has been paid in vain. A means to fight back. ZTE may withdraw from the U.S. market. Huawei's breakthrough in 5G technology has successfully helped China achieve a cornering overtaking in the field of communications. The world's attention is focused on Huawei, but in fact ZTE has also made outstanding contributions to the rise of 5G. With many technical patents, it provides Huawei with the initiative in subsequent research and development. But ZTE is not as lucky as Huawei. As soon as the 5G technology had a spot, it was targeted by the United States. After a series of manipulations, ZTE's so-called infringement was confirmed. After negotiation, an agreement was reached in 2017, but most of ZTE's future was ruined. According to the agreement, ZTE paid $1 billion for settlement and had to pay a deposit of $400 million before being removed from the U.S. ban list. It finally resumed cooperation with U.S. companies and operators, but its 5-year supervision is also officially launched. The salaries and expenses of the so-called observers were all provided by ZTE, and they were not swept out until March 2022. But at that time, ZTE was already in pieces. Under the forcible intervention of the United States, dozens of executives were replaced, and it was impossible to recover in the short term. Only a few months after the period, the U.S. restrictions have come again, and the U.S. market can only be abandoned. The research and development of 5G with millimeter wave technology promoted by American companies has failed. The centimeter wave technology of Huawei and ZTE has become the mainstream, occupying a large number of core patents in the market. Every country wants to have a well-established 5G network, and it must be impossible to avoid the technology of Chinese companies. Patents, including top companies such as Apple, Samsung, Qualcomm, etc., it is inevitable to pay a large amount of technology patent fees every year. The United States continues to upgrade restrictions in order to buy more time for American companies to break through. However, after being restricted from free shipments, the revenue is greatly reduced, and American companies gradually lose their fighting spirit. ZTE has also repeatedly negotiated with the United States Communication, asking it to provide so-called damage to safety evidence, but this itself is unwarranted, and naturally it cannot be produced. According to revenue statistics, ZTE's share in the U.S. market is less than 1%, and even if it withdraws completely, it will not have much impact. Although it cost $1.4 billion to get the regulation ended, ZTE has already understood that instead of insisting on such a situation, there is no result. It is better to focus on a more suitable platform and plan to retreat completely. The $1.4 billion fine was paid in vain. While being imposed infringement, ZTE also lost the supply of specific equipment to U.S. companies. Now Huawei, ZTE, and other companies are once again banned from exporting equipment, which is equivalent to completely cutting off the cooperation with the U.S. market, but getting rid of the control. The future of ZTE is already different. After paying a fine of $1.4 billion, ZTE also ushered in a 5-year relaxation period. Although it was supervised during the entire process, the research and development of technology did not stop. This is something that the United States cannot carry out. In terms of intervention, ZTE has already ranked third in the world in terms of 5G technology patents. After obtaining the right to free development, ZTE has also taken advantage of the opportunity to start a multi-field layout. In addition to making efforts in the communication field, it has also achieved good results in other fields. The shipment of smart device terminals for the Internet of Vehicles exceeded 1 million units. Help car companies transform and upgrade towards intelligent and digitalization. In addition, there is also a corresponding layout on the vehicle operating system and vehicle-grade chips. At the same time, it has not fallen behind in the field of communication. In addition to continuing to research and develop 5G technology, it has also participated in the layout of the 6G network. In terms of comprehensive strength, only second to Huawei. Possessing many 5G technology patents also means occupying a certain degree of initiative in the market. The premise of cooperation is based on the same level, and ZTE has already obtained the entry ticket in the future communication field, and this some are beyond the control of the United States. Thanks to the efforts of ZTE and Huawei, China's communication technology has been ahead of Europe and the United States for at least 3 years. It is very difficult to catch up. The United States has voluntarily given up its support for global technology. Now it should regret it. Are you responsible for this? What do you think?